Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for another vinyl update. Just jump in here. First up, the newest one. Is this year? Let's see. Looks like it says 2020. But Long Day, Good Night from Fate's Warning. Fate's Warning, just another solid album. On first listen, I wasn't feeling this one as much as their last few. However, on the second listen, it really hit me, and I ended up playing this quite a few times. They've just been consistently putting out killer music for decades, and this is just another really solid album. It's not, if you're not already a Fates Warning fan, this is not one I would jump into as a first album from them. I would definitely start with their, second, third, and fourth albums, but another fantastic album from Fate's Warning. Next up, I've talked about Gravedigger time and time again. They're finally pressing some of their older albums that were never pressed to vinyl to vinyl, or giving a couple of them represses. I believe this is the first pressing for this one. This is The Last Supper from Gravedigger. This one is not, a lot of people call this one a concept album. It's not a concept album. He does touch on Jesus on a few of the songs. Really fantastic album. This is actually one of my favorites from Gravedigger. And I don't really see people talking about this one too much, probably because of the subject matter. They just don't want to touch on it. Next up, from the epic, one of the epic metal bands that I never see anybody talking about. I think I've seen maybe two people show albums from Bromas Helm. Fantastic album, though. This is actually all of their EPs. Let's see. Into Battle Demo, 1983. I said EPs, all their demos. Black Death Demo, 1987. Helm's Deep Demo, 1989. And Ghost Story EP, 1994. Just fantastic, though. This is Buried by Time and Dust, who Buried by Time and Dust and High Roller are two labels that you can get pretty much everything that they've released, and you will be very happy with what you've received. I'm a big fan of Buried by Time and Dust, and I love seeing stuff like this. If you don't know what I don't know if it's Bromas or Bromas Helm. I've always said Bromas Helm. But this helmet right here, it's this helmet. It's in one of the museums in England, if I remember correctly. That exact helmet that drawing is, and it's called the Bromas Helm. So that's where their name came from. But fantastic job, as always, by Buried by Time and Dust. And actually, keeping on with the epic metal, one of my favorite albums of the year so far. Technically, this came out last year. But the vinyl pressings did not ship until this year. I think I ordered this maybe March or April of last year, and it finally came in the first part of this year. But the new one from Eternal Champion, they absolutely killed it. I loved their first album. I like this one even more. It's nice to see some bands, some epic metal popping up again, as opposed to just the 80s bands that we all know and love. But Ravening Iron, this will be probably in my top 10 or 15. It'll probably be in my top 10 for 2021. And this one is the private press that they did. This is the, what do they call their label? What does it even say? Hang on. Sword Warship is so usually what they do is through their Bandcamp, they'll do a private pressing, and then a label will press an extended pressing. This is the private press, and then No Remorse Records also did an expanded pressing. Next up, this album is fantastic. This may be one of my most listened to albums so far this year. I played this over and over again. This is one I have to thank Greeno for. I wasn't familiar with the record. He showed it on one of the Facebook pages, and after it looked interesting to me, so I checked it out on YouTube and was blown away. And I asked him where he got it. He told me, and I ordered it right then. I think this one's yellow vinyl, but this is the repress of Evil, Evil's Message. It was originally from 83 or 84, if I remember correctly. I don't see it on the back here. But it's originally from the early 80s. I believe I don't think they ever did a full length. I think they did this EP, and I've got another one that I haven't listened to yet that just came in the mail a couple days ago. This is Ride to Hell. And let me see. Yeah, this one's all demos. So I don't think they actually did a full length. And I'll talk about that one once I've listened to it. But this was a limited pressing. I think they did it in 2 colors, like green and yellow. Grab this while it's still out there, because this is fantastic. Oh, let's see. Next up, another. This is probably my favorite album from this band. When I bought this on CD, I just played it over and over and over, and I still pull it out pretty regularly. This is the Gravedigger from Gravedigger. The theme of this one is Edgar Allan Poe, and man, they absolutely kill it. This album is fantastic. This is one that I highly recommend checking out if you're even a little bit into power metal or into any of the Gravedigger albums. This one is absolutely fantastic. So the Gravedigger. Next up, finally we get a repress of this. I do not remember. This may be the first pressing of this. It may not be. I gotta say, Real Gone Music, I've probably mentioned this before. They're absolutely killing it with what they're releasing. They just pressed Nitro. They just pressed, or they're about to press Artillery's second album. So many good albums coming out for them. I'm trying to think. I've got like 3 or 4 more in my inbox that I haven't even got to yet from them. I mean, they've just been doing some. There's a lot of repress labels out there that are doing good pressings, but they're pressing stuff that's already out or that's already been repressed. Real Gone Music is really going after some of the more obscure stuff that's harder to find. Not even obscure, just stuff that hasn't been pressed to vinyl or that's super expensive. And this is the debut from Junkyard. This thing sounds fantastic. They did a great job on this one. I think this one's on colored vinyl. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. First ever LP reissue. Okay. So that's confusing how it's written. First ever LP reissue. So I'm assuming it's the first time on LP. Opaque yellow vinyl. This one was limited to 1,500 copies. But get this while it's still out there. It sounds fantastic. Definitely my favorite of the Junkyard albums. I like the one after that as well. And I don't even know that I've heard their other ones. I know that I think they're still together and touring, if I remember correctly. Or a version of them is together and touring. Excuse me. Next up, Black Label Society. So I showed the box. I've got the box sitting right here, as a matter of fact. I mentioned that it was weird that the song Remains Not the Same. Part 2 is in there, but part 1 is not. And then when I was going through putting up some another Black Label that was not in there, I realized I didn't have a copy of this. And I got the email from E1. They do weekly emails of the things that are almost sold out. And I think they had less than 50 copies of this left. So I ended up grabbing it. Really glad I did. Again, there's some covers on here. There's some acoustic versions. It's just different stuff that wasn't on their albums. Basically acoustic versions, live versions, and covers. And I really liked this when it came out. So it was really nice to get this one on vinyl and give it a few more spins. Next up, another one for the ever-expanding Aerosmith collection. Actually, we'll do one more and then call it a night. Next up is Rocks from Aerosmith. I've obviously got multiple copies of this, but I found a really clean Japanese press, and I wasn't going to pass up on it. Sounds fantastic. Probably my favorite Aerosmith album. And then last but not least, I ran across a copy of this for like $25, which is a really good price for an original pressing. And I couldn't remember if mine was a better copy or not. My copy is pretty much near mint. So I ended up, no, this is, now I can't remember. I think this was a little bit nicer than my copy. This was pretty much near mint. But I ended up giving it a few more spins. I've heard this album 1,000 times, but Live After Death. And again, I've mentioned this before. This is not my favorite Iron Maiden live album. I know a lot of people got into Iron Maiden right around the time this came out, and they fell in love with this. Although I did get into Iron Maiden about this time, it wasn't this album, and I didn't get this until years later. Live at Donington is by far my favorite Iron Maiden live album, and they've got 2 or 3 others that I really enjoy over this one. I do like this one, don't get me wrong. I just never thought the guitars sounded that good on here. You can't hear the different guitars. They sound like one guitar, and that's always bugged me about this. But that's it, guys. I hope everybody's doing good. Take care, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.